Hi everyone, thanks for joining Stampin' Storytellers. Today I'm going to do an informal version of one of my online classes. For June, I did Grace's Garden, and so this was a product-based class that when you purchase the stamp set and the coordinating dies, then I put together a little sample package of cardstock and DSP and ribbon and some gems, and then I send you all the kits to make 5 projects. Then we do an online class video together, either over Facebook or Zoom, and then we make all 5 projects. So today I'm going to give you a spoiler for June. This one is no longer available, but my next one for July I will announce on my page shortly. So let's get started. So in the mail you'll receive your stamp set and your dies and your product sample kit, which is all coordinating product. And then normally I have these folded in half, but for my extra one, I just put it in a Ziploc bag. So we'll make this one first since it's on top. So each kit comes with your card base, and this one is actually a stand-up one, so it has an extra score mark here at 2 inches. So this one will stand up like this. Then I have a layer of Very Vanilla for the inside and your layer of crumb cake. Then I pre-emboss all of these little strips, and it's just kind of a variant of all the shades of brown and gray. So those pieces are all going to go on there. So we'll do that first. And leaving about 1/8 of an inch in between them. This is one of the new embossing folders from our 2020-2021 annual catalog. It's one of the smaller mini embossing folders. It's only 3.5 inches wide, or 3 1/4 maybe, to fit in the mini Stampin' cut and emboss machine. That will be available soon. It's not quite ready yet. There I have my kind of color spectrum. Then I have a garden gate cut out of the In Good Taste Designer Series paper and the background piece cut out of vellum. So these are both dies that are included in your die set. Before I adhere anything else, I want to stamp on this vellum piece. So I'm going to overlay this where it lines up, and it's hard to see on my white background. There we go. And I'm just gonna stamp hello here in Memento. And then because we need to heat set it, I'll use my heat tool so that it doesn't smear, or it would take forever for it to dry. So stamp that down there. And the reason I do it first is because if you adhere this and then stamp it and then heat set it, all of your glue dots or whatever glue is going to heat up, and it just makes a big mess. Ask me how I know. So there's that one, and then I'm just going to put some glue dots on the back of my gate to stick it on. And after I have these 3 stuck on here, then I'll add one to the top, just so that it lines up nicely. And then this glue dot can cover both layers without being seen. Then I'm going to add mini dimensionals to the bottom. Oops. And no dimensional at the top, just on the bottom. And place that on there. And then I want the top to be flat, so then that glue dot holds the top down. There we go. Then also in your kit is this new Forever Greenery combo pack, is this very vanilla trim. Oops. So tie a nice bow with that. And then I've also given you a length of the gold trim. So this is this combo pack. It comes together, so you get 5 yards of the ribbon and 10 yards of the gold trim. Also in our new catalog. Then I have die cut 2 of the greenery dies out of gold foil. And I'll stick those on just with glue dots to make a vine. Just like that. Then I'll trim these. And I'll wrap this around my fingers to make, let's see, that should be good. Just so that I have different sized circles. And I'll stick that on a glue dot so I don't lose it all, because it really unravels. And then after you have it stuck, then you can kind of fluff it up. And then that's going to go right around your word hello. And I'll trim these big fraying tails off. And then this bow will stick right on top of that glue dot there. Then in your stack of cards, there's one more that I included these gold gems with. So we'll save 3 for that other card. And we need 3 for this one. Oops. And that one actually. Oops. I was not using my take your pick tool, and the clear part actually separated from the little gold gem, but that's okay. There's lots on the sheet, when you order those. So then this piece, I'm only going to put adhesive here and lay it just like a normal card front. And stick that down. But now we need something that makes it stand up. So we'll set that aside, and in your kit is one tiny little scrap of Very Vanilla, and we're going to stamp the fence post image in crumb cake. And die cut that quickly. And put some dimensionals on the back of there. And then sticking with the color theme, I know daisies aren't usually gray, but I'm going to stamp this small daisy image in basic gray. And then put this right here on the side. And then adhere this to the inside of our card. So now we have something that makes it stand up. So when you send it to your friend or loved one, they can have it on display. So that is card number 1. Card number 2 on our pile is a totally different color scheme to get you using your product other than the photos in the catalog or the color schemes that we are shown in the catalog. Sometimes it's easy to get stuck in that. So I have an extra layer of basic gray that's probably 5 1/4 by 4. Then I have a layer of Whisper White that's just, oh, that was the wrong one. That's 1/8 of an inch smaller, so it's 5 1/8 by 3 7/8. And that's the one we're going to stamp on first. And this is the fun color scheme that we're going to be using. Daffodil Delight, Flirty Flamingo, and Coastal Cabana. I'll start with my floral images here. And we're going to be making a design around a strip here. So you just want to stamp a little bit crazy at first, but when we cover it up, it'll look better, I promise. Then we'll use the next largest floral image, and I'm going to use that one in Daffodil Delight. And I know it's getting crazier and crazier, but trust me, it will be okay. And then this small daisy image in Coastal Cabana. Just going to lay this here so I know how high it needs to be. So then you look at that and you think, what a disaster have I made? But then you put this strip across and it looks beautiful. And then I have a little bit narrower strip. So this is 1 inch and then this is 1.5. And that goes across there. Then this stamp set doesn't have a long sentiment, so I stole one from the new sunflower stamp set, which I have also lost on my desk. I don't remember. Oh, here it is. Celebrate Sunflowers. So I'm using the Thanks a Bunch stamp from there. So I'm going to ink that up in basic gray. Just like that. Then I will glue these 2 strips together, and I have cut them long, so I'll trim them down after I adhere it to my card front. So then just turn your cardstock over and trim across. Then you have a nice straight edge on that side. Then also in your kit is a scrap piece that I'm going to stamp each one of these in, well, that one wasn't very good, the same colors that we just stamped them in. And then conveniently in your die set, there is a die that matches each of these. So then you can die cut those 3 out and add it to your card front, and it will look like this. This sentiment is from the Timeless Tropical stamp set. So then you have your 3 die cuts, and then we added the little yellow bow. This is the yellow Daffodil Delight Roost ribbon. So there's card number 2. So it's very easy to interchange your sentiments on the front depending on what you need that day or what you need later down the road, or if there isn't a long sentiment in the stamp set that you're using and you need one, then you just look to your other stamp sets. Okay, and next we will do this navy card. So changing color schemes totally again, using navy or Night of Navy, Very Vanilla, and Pool Party. And then still sticking with the basic gray. So if I take my layers, I have a 5 1/4 by 4 for your inside of Very Vanilla, and then these pieces are our outside. So I have pre-embossed this Pool Party layer with the subtle embossing folder, and even though we're gonna stamp on it, it still works without having to stamp and then emboss, and then I'm still able to pre-do everything for you in your kits. So I'm just gonna keep this scrap piece from my last card that I messed up on the side. We're gonna need it right here. I'm going to stamp in basic gray my floral image again. These little pieces are half of a tailored tag punch, punched out of the In Good Taste Designer Series paper. So I'm making 3 little flower pots. So this one, I will know I want it to go here, but it's gonna stamp below where I want it, and my flower pot won't cover it up. So I'm just gonna put my scrap piece of paper here and then stamp down so that this covers the rest of the image that I don't need. So that was the tall one. Then I have my middle one. for here. That one's going to go there. And then I'm going to use this one again, but I'm only going to use about the top 1.5 inches to make it look like it's a different arrangement. Oh, that one didn't snap very well. There we go. And then that one will go here. And then my big bow out of, again, this linen. It feels like linen ribbon. If I can tie it. Oops. It's almost, it feels like tensor bandage or like gauze. It's so thin and fine. But now I've kind of made a mess. There we go. I just want a smaller bow, so I'll trim my ends. And that's going to go right on this flower pot. So these ones I will put up on dimensionals. And I'll start with the middle one just so that I can center it on there, and then put these ones centered in the space that's left. Just like that. Add my glue dot on my bow. And then for the sentiment on my example card, I use that thanks a bunch and I fussy cut it out, but that's pretty finicky and sometimes you don't want to do that. So I'm just going to use a 1/2 inch strip of Very Vanilla and stamp my hello in basic gray and just angle cut a piece of it off and put a little adhesive and stick that down on this flower pot. That one's not the same angle. There we go. Just like that. And then we have this layer of Very Vanilla that we can adhere to. So there's the basic part of our card front. Then on our card front, on our card base itself, I'm going to use Night of Navy ink on the Night of Navy cardstock with this long rose image just along the bottom. It's leaving about a 1/4 of an inch at the bottom. And then adhere this layer. And it just adds a little bit underneath there. Just like that. And then you have a layer of Very Vanilla for the inside, which you could also stamp on, and I'm sure I did on my sample card. I just added some little 2 of the floral images, and then I colored the flowers with the Pool Party blends, and that's what I've done here as well. So I've only used the dark Pool Party and just color in the whatever these are. I'd say rosebuds, but they're clearly not roses. The flowers. And I left the greenery just the color that we stamped it in. So that's all those. And this is really easy coloring. You could also use just your Stampin' Write marker for this too, because you're not trying to blend them. I just like to use my blends whenever I can. And then these little ones. And then you could do the same on the inside as it, if you'd like as well. So that's card number 3. Next, we have another one going back to that same crumb cake color scheme. This one I've added more black. Let me wash. Oh, I don't think I even need to. In all of these little pieces, we only need one stamp. The rest is already all done for you. So in your kit is layers of cardstock and your little die pieces. So that's just your trim. There's also one tiny little thread to make one of our bows. So I have a layer of Very Vanilla for the inside that I've pre-embossed with the matching folder to the one that we previously used. So these two come in a set for our new embossing folders, or our new cutting machine, but they of course work with our current Big Shot machine or whatever other die cutting machine you have. So first I'm going to add a layer of basic black, and I've stolen the garden gate out of the front of it, or out of the middle of it, because you won't be able to see. So lay that down. Then I have another layer of Very Vanilla that's just a 1/16 of an inch smaller. So this layer of basic black, you'll barely see any of it, but it's just what it needed in between those two light colors. And that's embossed with the, I think it's the Tasteful Textures embossing folder, but you can find it in our new catalog. Then I have a stitched rectangle embossed with the same embossing folder that's on the inside piece. Then my black garden gate, and I'm going to cut up the center. And before I glue it down, I'm just going to lay it here first, and we're going to stamp a sentiment in Memento. Right in the center. And I was telling my, during our online video for this, that I showed my daughter this card, and she's 4, but she's very opinionated. And I showed her this finished one, and I said, "What do you think of it?" And she says, "I don't like those words," and licked her finger and rubbed them across my words because she didn't think that the words went there. But too bad, they were already stamped there. So I had to make another one. So I'm just putting glue along the archway, none on the actual gate, and add that to center it in where your sentiment is. Then I have pre-die cut and stamped a little bird in crumb cake ink on Very Vanilla cardstock. And he's just gonna go right there on the fence. Then I have these greenery vine pieces again. So you have 2 in each size. There's a large one and a small one. I'm just getting this one piece that always stays in there when I die cut. And those I'm just going to start with a large one with my glue dots and alternate a large one and then a small one. large one. And the final one. Just like that. And when I lay them on, I'm just trying to cover the final stem of the previous one so that you don't have it going like a zigzag and it doesn't look like it all combines together. Then I have 3 tiny little die cut flowers. These are also included in your die set, and I'll add those. In there. And again, just glue dots. You could use your fine tip glue pen, but glue dots are quick and easy to add to there. And then I have, because one of my other gems is broken, I guess, I'm just gonna sprinkle 3 of these little gems in here too. Those are the gold enamel dots in our annual catalog. They aren't new, but they are in our catalog. And then the last step is with your twine or thread. So I'm going to wrap this around my 2 fingers so that I have an end on either side. So it just is like a loop. Then I'll hold that down. And I'm going to use this single gold thread. Oops. And tie it around. Oh, here comes Ron. This is my new kitten. He likes to sit on my desk right beside me, like every cat. So then I'm just tying this tiny thread around, and I'm double knotting it just to make sure that it stays on there. So that makes it your little bow and giving it more volume than if you just used one strand and tied a bow. And then back to my glue dots. And stick that right down there. So there is our 4th card, and we have 1 left. This one is a little bit more involved. Using Blackberry Bliss, another piece of our In Good Taste Designer Series paper, and then this is Blushing Bride and Rich Raspberry. So I'm going to set all these pieces aside first, and we're going to do all of our stamping. So on the first piece in your kit, we'll need Blushing Bride, ink, Rich Raspberry, and Early Espresso. And crumb cake in a second. But we're going to stamp our little cat in Early Espresso and our daisies in Blushing Bride. And when I include a stamp or a scrap piece of paper, I usually mark it with a little X so that you know which one it's for. Then we have a sentiment strip for our little hello. And I'm going to clean that quickly. And stamp that in Rich Raspberry. And let that dry. Then these 2 we're going to die cut with our coordinating dies. This is our front little panel, and I'm going to use this flower. Where did it go? this one. In Blushing Bride and stamp that twice at the bottom. Then in Crumb Cake, our fence image, one on either side. Then we have these little die cut vines again, and yet again more glue dots. Do my tall one first. And I just line up the bottom of the stem with the bottom of my paper so that it looks like they're growing and not floating up in the air. Then this sentiment strip I'm going to cut off using our tailored tag punch. And adhere that on there. And then our little bird again, this time in Early Espresso, and I'm just gonna stamp it so it looks like he's sitting on that sentiment strip. And then we even have, we'll add those gems after. Adhere that to our next layer, that is Rich Raspberry, embossed with the texture, Tasteful Texture embossing folder. My goodness, I have 2 new kittens and they really sound like they're wrecking the place out there. So I'm going to set this piece aside. Then I have 2 layers that are the same size, with both with mats of Blushing Bride. Oh, I'll die cut these in a second. So then for these ones, we're going to do the same idea. I'm going to use the tall floral image in Blushing Bride and stamp that across here. There we go. And then the same with the little fence image with just the 2 posts, one on each side. Then I'm actually going to use the little daisy image in Blushing Bride, but I'm going to stamp it so I only see the daisies on my cardstock, so that you don't get the ground side of it. Just like that. And then our sentiment on this one is With All My Heart, and that I'm going to stamp kind of in the center in Rich Raspberry. And adhere that one to the center of there. And then for our next one, we are going to use the full fence image at the bottom. And this sentiment a little bit to the left, and our bird again in Early Espresso sitting on that fence post. And one more, this medium-sized arrangement in Blushing Bride, but again upside down so that I just get the floral side of it. You're not gonna see much of this, but I didn't want it to be totally plain. And then that one can be adhered to its layer. So let me die cut these 2 pieces. These I'm both going to put on dimensionals. And then if you have a Wink of Stella, I also colored my cat with the Wink of Stella to give him some actual color on his body. So I'll put that one there. And then my kitty, and color him in. The Wink of Stella kind of picks up the edge of your ink and makes him shine. And I did my bird too, because he's the same color. There we go. So now we're done stamping, and now comes the fun assembly part. On our top one, I used the Label Me Fancy punch to make the slot. So I just center it. Then you don't want to put it in so that you can see that would punch out. Just to the very edge. And punch through those 2 layers of cardstock. Then in your kit is a piece of the silver edged metallic ribbon, and then a piece of our linen thread. And knot those, or tie a knot. And then a little bow. Trim that off, and I'll cut these just on an angle. So there's our top one. This one doesn't need anything, and then we have this one. So on the top of our bottom piece, I'm going to put a piece of tear and tape, and this will make more sense once you see the full card. So that's just at the top, and then this one is going to be on the back at the bottom, and this is just on the front, so we'll save that one. Then I have a piece of cellophane. This is it's the length of the packaging that our die cuts or our die sets come in. You could also use an actual cellophane bag, but this is the perfect length. So I have this base that I've already scored and punched for you. This one is half of the classic label punch on either end. Then this one is just part of a 2-inch circle, and then there's a 1/2 inch or a 1/4 inch strip on this side. So I'll use my bone folder and stick that down and fold on these other lines. And this is called a double slider card, and it's actually really easy to put together. So that's the size of our card, and then this is going to be our belly band. So starting with your cellophane, open it up and wrap it around. And you want it tight, but not too tight that it doesn't pull nicely. And because we're using what was a bag, it has a seam in it. You want to make sure that that seam isn't at the bottom of where it normally sits. You want it kind of in the middle. And then I'll put a little piece of tear and tape just on the cellophane part, and then that is only going to stick the cellophane to the cellophane. So then it goes like that. So it's loose, but it's not going to fall off of there. then just cut off your excess strip. So now I have a piece of cellophane that goes up and down. So this is how our card is going to open. This is your front slot. This piece that we put the little strip of tear and tape at the bottom is going to go inside like this. So now that we know it's going to go there, we can open it up, take off the adhesive, and again, you only want adhesive where it's going to touch your cellophane. You don't want it to actually adhere to your card base, I guess. So stick that down, and I'm going to check. It's not stuck to the card base. So that's the first one. So now when you pull it, it'll pull up, and it goes back down. Now this bottom one is going to go on the very bottom, underneath the cellophane layer, like that. So then we can open it up, and it's gonna stay right here. So we can just center it on this panel, take off our tear and tape, and fold. This little flap does need to go on top of your little panel. Fold that shut. So now it's stuck upside down or backwards. Then I'm going to take my Tombow adhesive. You could use tear and tape too, but it's only a 1/4 inch piece, so you'd have to be careful. Then make sure this piece goes underneath the flap and fold it together. Now you can test it, and both ends come out at the same time, nice and smoothly, because you didn't have a seam at the bottom. Just like that. Here's your double slider. Then our belly band, I'm just gonna put tear and tape on one edge here. I guess it should be the front edge. Instead of tear and tape, we have new Stampin' Seal Plus. That would be strong enough to hold this on, but don't use your everyday adhesive. So this piece is 4x6, so I'm just going to fold it over. This side has my tear and tape on it, so I'm going to fold that first and pull it tight, and then pull this one. And line up my seams just like this, and then add this layer to the center, and my 3 little gems. And just like that, now you have a double slider card. Whoops. I should have I'm gonna put just a little bit of adhesive on the inside here. I should have put 2 layers of tear and tape. That's the front. There we go. Now you have a double slider card that pops out and slides nicely back inside. So I'll bring in our 5 projects that we made. We have a slider card, a regular card, a easel card, a flower pot card, and this fun bright colored card. So if you'd ever like to sign up for one of my online classes, they all work a little bit different. Price-wise is just dependent on the price of the bundle or suite of products that we're working with. The prices will all be sent to you by email if you'd like to sign up, or some of them are listed on my blog dependent on Stampin' Up! Rules. So let me know if you enjoyed my video today or if you'd like to sign up for one of my future online classes. My July one will be posted shortly. I think it's going to be Zany Zebras, but I will confirm that once I have my post ready. If you'd like to order from my online store, you can do so by visiting stampinstorytellers.stampinup.net directly or stampinstorytellers.blogspot.com, and there's a shop link in the right hand corner where you can order all of the products that I used today in this video. I hope you enjoyed my informal stamp camp video for you, and I hope to stamp with you soon. Thank you. Bye.